We are joined now by Dixie State football defensive line coach, Big Loni Fangupo, here on the Trailblazer Weekly. Loni, thanks so much for taking some time out of your day and spending it with us here on Trailblazer Weekly. Let's jump right into this. First season here at Dixie State, came over with Coach Paul Peterson from Snow College. You're obviously getting your feet wet right now in fall camp and have a couple weeks under your belt so far. Let's just jump right into it. Give us some overall impressions, what you've seen so far in fall camp, and give us some of the names we might be hearing this season on the football team.
First of all, it's hot. It's really hot.
A good thing you're practicing in the morning.
Thank goodness. When we come out for pack, I start melting out there. I come out there with a sweater hoping I'd lose a couple pounds. But what do you guys want to know about the football team?
Just tell us about kind of what your overall impressions so far been, the defensive line, the defense maybe. Give us some of the names we might be hearing come this football season.
We're definitely going to hear about the defensive line. We have Screech, Dylan Henderson, and we have Yarbrough, we call him. They do a great job on the edges. In the middle, we have a couple bodies in there. We're excited, man. We're excited to go attack the quarterbacks and go get the ball.
You mentioned, Anthony Yarbrough, a couple of guys are going to be returning. Is there any new guys that you can think of right now standing out? Maybe some freshmen, maybe some newcomers that have been standing out so far this season in fall camp?
See, technically, we're still in our camp, so they're still in trying to earn their name right now. So everyone's still getting their shots. But we have Tyreek right now, who's coming up, stepping on Tyreek Wright. He's doing a lot of good things. He has a terrible body, but he's like that guy. I had a teammate at USC. We called him Tut-Tut, Jarrell Casey. Boo-boo body, ugly body. You look at him, you're like, terrible. But then he comes out, he does some great things. Great get off, great first step. Locked out his hands, and this guy's like a Tasmanian devil. He don't stop. I call him Snut Bubbles because when he's running, all this saliva and everything's popping up everywhere. I love his effort. I love his attitude. He's coming out there. Will Payne come from last year. I think he was injured last year, but he's looking good, man. Mentally getting stronger, physically getting stronger in every way. Excited for him. Very athletic. We also have what's his name? My tough white boy guy. Gosh dang. Tyler Heaton. Tyler Heaton's pretty stout in the middle. He's a local boy. That's a bad boy. He's tough when he wants to be, when he does it right, when he does the technique right, he could be a force down there. But I'm excited for our defensive line. I think the best part about a line is the relationship we're building. I'm a big believer in operating at the speed of trust, us getting to know each other, how we operate together, and being able to communicate better, just things like that. But all in all, I'm excited for our defensive line.
Chatting with Big Loni Fangupo, defensive line coach here at Dixie State University, and one of the reasons we wanted to have you on, Coach, you're very knowledgeable about football and you're great energy. We love talking
every day
because you bring that energy and it translates into practice too. I think I've missed 2 practices so far.
Okay.
I've had other things in the morning. I haven't been able to get over there too, but I've loved to watch you coach those guys over on the defensive line. It's never a demeaning, but if something needs to be taught, you can teach it, and there's always this energy. Talk about your style of coaching and how well that helps your players.
Me, I like juice. I like to have fun. I don't want to create a work environment. I mean, I've been in football myself, and the best times I enjoy the team or practice, and the most memorable ones is when we're having fun, when we're high-fiving each other. We're doing everyone's doing their job. We're executing perfectly and just having a great environment. I mean, you've been places that are boring. You don't want to be there. And me, never been in a boring buffet. I love buffets. So, like, on my defensive line, I'm out there. If they got to get spanked, they're going to get spanked. We're going to run. We're going to run till the legs hurt, or we're going to run till they drop. I will compliment when it's needed. I won't give too much because I always expect more or better. But I worry a lot about their toughness. I push toughness really a lot. I'm a big guy in defining my standards. Like a kid's definition of hard work and my definition of hard work is really different. Simply because I've gone and reached higher levels. So my understanding of hard work is a lot broader than his. So as a coach, I like to define it for them and expect it and make it the standard. Toughness for me, it's our team, whatever they say, philosophy or whatever. For me, toughness is doing the right things in the worst circumstances. So for me in practice, I set up to a point where I destroy them in individuals. I punish their legs, their arms. I take them to a point of exhaustion where they're about to pass out. I want them to show up into a period what we call team run, team pass, team mix. I want them to show up tired. And I want to see them execute at a high level while exhausted. And in my experience, those are the ones that get paid. Those people succeed. Anyone can operate under the air conditioning at 8 in the morning after a nice breakfast. Anyone can do that. Very few can show up on game day at the worst circumstances and perform. Well, you guys are smiling. You got any more questions?
Good stuff. No, we're just soaking this up like a sponge. This is Loni Fangupo, defensive line coach here at Dixie State of football. Coach, wanted to talk to you about one of the first things I said to you when you walk in today. We were talking about CSU Pueblo when you walked into the studio today, and I asked you, hey, have you seen the tape from last year's game? And you said, yes, I've seen it. We can't give up the big play.
Yes.
How much is that being preached this year? Stop the guy, stop the run at the line, get to the quarterback. I know that's just defensive line 101, but
yes.
How much is that being preached this year and saying we cannot give up the big play? We got to give our team a chance to win.
Exactly. The biggest thing in every team game plan for anyone, you cannot give big plays. In order to eliminate that is for everyone to do what we call their 111. There are 11 guys on the field. If each person do their individual job, right? We sketch it up, we draw it up, we game plan. I mean, we don't just give them a play, just go out there and play. Us as a staff, we sit there, we watch the film over and over and over again. How they block it, how they move, how the O-line slide, how they kick step, where do they slide. All different keys that indicate the thing, what play they're trying to run. But at the end of the day, if we don't do our job, if we sacrifice, like some guys, he has the A-gap. And if he gives up the A-gap to try to make a play, he doesn't sacrifice us and we get hit in the A-gap. So it comes down to everyone doing their job and eliminating big plays.
On the other hand, that nothing can turn a game, like a strip sack in the backfield.
Oh, that's the best play in football, baby.
So talk about how much making those big plays is preached too. Not only giving them up, but let's make the big plays. Let's swing the game for our team.
There's a term I heard in the league said by Dick LeBeau, legend Dick LeBeau, always say, best defense sits the bench. So he said, if you go out there first or second down and you go sack, cause a fumble, strip the ball, get the ball up, pick six or whatever, that's devastating for the offense, right? And not only that, their defense come back out, especially our offense being a fast-paced offense, right? Of course, we're risking them getting a fast 3 and out. Our defense, we're training to the point that that's fine. You can go out there and get 23 and outs, and that's fine. Our job is not to critique or complain about the offense. Our job is simply get the rock. So we condition that if they turn over the ball 20 times, we're conditioned to go in there and create 20 turnovers. So that's our mindset. That's our mindset going into the game plan. Our job is to get the offense to rock.
Chatting live with Big Loni Fangupo here on Trailblazer Weekly. Loni, in his first season here as a defensive line coach at Dixie State, like I mentioned, came with Coach Pearson from Snow College. There he served a couple years, helped lead the Badgers to an 18-4 record and a bowl win there.
We went 18-4?
18.
We lost 4 games?
Over those 2 seasons.
Over those 2 seasons, 18-4 with the Badgers, but pretty good record for 18-4 with
we lost 4 games.
Snow College, but Coach,
those 18 wins don't mean anything. Just those 4 losses.
I remember them too.
Coach, talk a little bit about obviously, we talked about the big plays that hurt Dixie State last year against Pueblo. Their running backs combined for 12 attempts, over 300 yards, and 5 touchdowns. You mentioned how important it is for the defensive line, but how much is it important for the defensive line to be in unison with the other parts of the defense, the linebackers, the safeties, the corners? How important is it for the defense to know what one another's responsibilities are and then be able to execute them, like you said, at a high level?
Oh, it's crucial. It's vital. I mean, when I talked about doing your 111, there's a guy for every gap. There's a guy for every gap. Someone always has an edge. Someone has a B gap, C gap, A gap. Everyone has a responsibility. And if they don't take care of it, we will get gashed. Because a good offense, they will get multiple shots on the defense. They're going to find the chink in the armor. And not only that, fatigue makes a coward of assault. They're going to find who's tired, and they're going to attack that guy. So if we don't execute at a high level, do our job, especially in the box. right? If the defense goes, if we get blasted if one of my nose I get blasted, gets set on the linebacker, it's over. They give him free 5 yards. But if our D lineman understands that if I take these two, my linebacker is free to make the play. And say he takes a risk of getting pancaked, but at that time he takes a double team down with him, lets the linebacker play free. Now that's selfless ball, but that's winning ball. Now you get a guy who takes on a double team, he tries to get out of the double team, blows his assignment, gets out of the A gap, and he goes in the other A gap trying to make a play. Now he just made that other B gap, A gap so wide that I can walk through it. I'm a big guy.
Coach, Cece Pueblo, comes in with a pretty good running back. I don't know if you've done any scouting on this year's team. Austin Michi, one of the good running backs in this conference. Last season, Cece Pueblo ran 53 offensive plays, 44 of which were running plays, either through Marche Denard or Austin Michi or any of the other guys that carried the ball. What are you kind of doing you kind of know their offense now? They're going to rely on the ground game a little bit. They're going to have a new quarterback, so we may not know what we're going to get from them as far as a pass offense, but how do you train your guys knowing that you're going to have a run-heavy offense come in and knowing what your responsibilities are, and how do you get them kind of trained to do that in a situation where the other team's going to run the ball?
Okay, a lot of the times, a lot of people think that you need really big guys to stop the run. Well, that's not true. It comes down to technique, right? If I allow a 300-pound man to gain a little bit of momentum, he gonna cause some damage. Correct?
Yeah.
All right. There we go. Let's make sure we're together on this. But if I were to reach out, defensive line would teach him shoot your hands. Right? Before you take a step, if I taught a guy to shock you before you took your step, I eliminate your forward progression. Right? Just as if I threw a punch and it catch a little speed, I messed that pretty face up, right? Mm-hmm. But if I were to throw this punch and you reach out and stopped it, you eliminate my forward progression and it will make it void. So that's what we're trying to do on the line, is we're trying to improve our technique. By shooting our hands, staying in a gap, being able to stay low, know when to bend the knee, just doing our job, knockback, penetration. Now I played against a lot of good backs now. I've been teammates with Marshawn Lynch. I've been some guy at Pittsburgh, I forgot his name. 26.
Le'Veon Bell.
Bell. He swears he can play in the league. He's not that good. But play with Tim, play against a lot of good running backs. But they will all tell you penetration kills any of their game, any of their scheme. So if we be able to get off the ball as fast as we can, get the hands on them, shock the O-lineman, drive him back, we're going to kill any run game they got.
Chatting with defensive line coach Loni Fangupo here on Trailblazer Weekly. Coach, you mentioned some of your teammates in the league, in the NFL. I know that time in your life is a big part of your life. It's a big part of your football career, whether a player, as a coach. Talk about that journey to the NFL. You played at a couple different college teams, a couple of different teams in the league. What are the lessons learned in the NFL, and what was life like in the league?
Wow. Where to begin? In the NFL, imagine walking to a room and everyone is chiseled. Everyone is built. Everyone's in the best shape of their life. I remember going to a room, and this is when it became real for me. A guy by Coach Mitch, meanest man I ever met. Defensive line coach at the Steelers. And, they're known for great D linemen. Not only great D linemen, tough, stout fighters in the trenches. They expect 3 guys to dominate 5. It's a fair fight. And that's the expectations. And I remember coming into the room, and he said, and when they travel to a game, they only take 5 linemen. So we walked in, and Coach Smith said, you see those 5? None of you guys are going to beat them out. All of you guys are fighting for the practice squad spot. And it was a guy from Florida. There was a 6'8" monster from Tennessee was in the room. There was me. There was no pushovers in that room. But you had literally 8 guys who was told to fight for the practice squad spot. And all of us started and played and started in college. And now we were told you're practice squad quality. So every day was a battle. Every day, I remember watching guys hold their helmet. Give me this helmet right here. Ugh. They held their helmet, lean on it in the locker room and pray just to get through practice. Because I'm telling you, NFL camp, you guys ever been to an NFL camp? It's a war zone. I remember the linebackers looking back, thinking we were fighting, like we were some gods fighting on Mount Olympus. Because you just hear, pop, Every time, pop, pop, pop. Always said, and a lot of other D linemen, they do their little drill stuff, but at the Steelers, it's literally 30 minutes of fight. There's no, I remember Coach said, I'll teach you technique once you make the 53-man roster. So that's how it is in the league. It's a battle, it's a fight. You really got to come in and figure it out. I remember one of the guys said, you got to find out what the second stringer is not willing to do. And you got to do it better. So, sorry I took your helmet.
That's technically one of your guys' helmets.
We got
we
operating
borrowed
props
it from the football team.
We have,
so
yeah,
did you check if it was a violation?
it's not a violation.
All right, just making sure.
we make sure it's sitting up here on the desk. It's no big deal. Big Loni Fangupo, defensive line coach for the Dixie State Trailblazers. We got to run to break, but quickly I want to ask you. I mean, you spent that time in the league. You learned all those lessons. What's the biggest thing that time in the league did for you as a coach to be able to coach these kids now at the college level?
Wow, that's a great question. I think about that every day. It actually molded the type of coach. I've always knew when I was in college in the league, I always wanted to know that I wanted to coach. I always knew that. I've always asked coaches to meet with them and study them. Andy Reid, Pete Carroll, be under Monty Kiffin, under Coach Watch, who's a defensive coordinator now at Jacksonville. And one thing I learned there is always be prepared. Always. I remember I had no idea that I was going to play. I was at a practice squad for 9 weeks. It was rough. And I mean 350 pounds taking every rep and then running down special teams. Ain't no 350-pound belong on special teams, but they ain't scout team players. And Bam Bam and Cam Chancellor and them, they're not going to run it. So Big Loni going to run it. And finally getting called in and asked to play against the 49ers with Kaepernick and them were there. That was a great game. That was a fun game. That was a great game. And then asked to play, and then asked, do I know the plays? And literally, they questioned me if I knew the plays, and that depended if they were going to sign me or not. So I had to be prepared at all times. Whether I was a practice squad from day one all to the end of the season, I had to prepare like I was playing that game that week. So one thing I bring and I harp it on my guys is always be prepared, no matter what. Study the playbook, understand the playbook. And you know, not only that, it translates into school. I often like to tell all my, not only recruits, but my players, that if you put up a meeting room in college, or a classroom in college or a meeting room in the NFL, they have the same exact thing. They got chairs, they got tables, they got whiteboards, they got teachers, they got problem solving. They have all kinds of stuff, learning. But literally here in college, everyone in college has the opportunity, which they don't realize, to learn how they learn. So when you go to the league, they drop a playbook about that big on you and say, see you in 2 hours. And every mistake you make, it costs you $1,000 or get cut. So it's pretty brutal in the league.
That's incredible. Big Loni Fangupo, defensive line coach here at Dixie State University. And folks, this is the energy. This is the passion that is on the sidelines this year. And it's going to bring a great, great product into game day, and we can guarantee you that. September 7th, the opener against CSU Pueblo. We got to run to a break, but Loni, thanks so much for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.
We'll have you on the show anytime. We could have a whole Loni Fangupo special.
Yes.
All the great stories and all the great lessons
Might be
we
up
could
for
learn.
practice.
We might have to do that someday.
Yes, you might, yeah.